Okay, I do think we're gonna start Curse Crackers in a bit for my soundtrack game, but we're gonna take a quick detour first and do the sort of tier list wrap up. Just kind of walk through some of the games that we played for usebs back in September, since we officially finished a month and a half late with getting through Rocket Knight last week. So give me just a minute to get set up for that. How do I want to do this? I think I need my other monitor back. I hope that doesn't break anything to like plug in a new monitor while I'm streaming. It seems like it's fine. Do that. Get a little music pulled up. That's so loud. I'm so sorry. I wanted to just click the playlist, not start the playlist instantly. Okay. That looks like it's working. Set the timer with the actual usebs time. For posterity. Okay. Let me know if audio is weird. It looks like it should be fine. And we'll just get into it. I should have chat up somewhere too, huh? Okay. So, to get started, we'll start with the ones that I didn't play. 9 games on the list, as always, for usebs, and then in theory, you play them all and do 1 deluxe goal. I did a couple extra deluxe goals to skip a couple. So the ones that I skipped were Mega Man 7. I've played Mega Man 7 before. Don't particularly love it. I think in the realm of the classic Mega Man games, it's towards the bottom of the list for me. As we saw with a couple people who played it, the final boss is just like deranged. It's like so hard to hit and does so much damage. And they go back to capping you at 4 E-tanks in this game, as opposed to like some of the earlier ones let you just like stockpile a bunch to kind of brute force your way through tough fights. But even beyond the final boss, there's a couple of stages that I just don't care for. Turbo Man does the same fire damage that the Wily Capsule does, and I don't know what they were thinking, but fire just does so much damage over time. And then also just, you know, it's on the Super Nintendo. Mega Man X was coming out at around the same time, and Mega Man X is just so much more fun to play. So this was always in my back pocket of like, if I ran into trouble with some other games, I was like, I could come back and play this again, but happy to play some new stuff first of all, and then happy to be able to just sort of skip it and not need to. The other one that I didn't play was Dexterity, so asterisk on this. I did play Dexterity. I booted it up for about 30 minutes or so, enough to get a couple of hard game overs. And then also, when the hurricane knocked out my internet for a month and I was going insane, I downloaded Dexterity as a ROM on my phone to play through it a little bit more. Use save states at like levels 10 and 20, I think, just to give myself like some checkpoints. So like I'm putting it in the didn't play category because I didn't beat it according to the rules, but I did at least play it more than Mega Man 7. And it's fun, you know. It's like, it's a simple game. You're flipping over the tiles and you're trying to like flip the entire board, and then there are enemies who are causing you problems, so you've got to deal with them. You can flip the tiles over to stun them and toss them around, and like, you know, for a Game Boy game, it's an early, well, actually I don't know when this came out in the Game Boy's lifespan. It feels like an early Game Boy game. But you know, I think it's fine. It's definitely like a good, like, hey, I'm riding in the car for like 30 minutes and I have some time to kill, so we can just like sit and knock out a couple levels. And you know, I'm not trying to beat the game, but I'm just trying to play around a little bit. Like, I think it's fine for that. The hard game overs suck though. That, like, I'm just not a fan of that. Is it a trope? It's not really a trope, but like, you know, hard game overs are just not fun. So if I was to rank it, it would be on the lower side. I would probably have it in like a C or something, but is it known as Funny Field? Yeah, Dexterity is kind of a weird name, huh? Like, it's not really... I guess in some of the later stages, you need some degree of dexterity. It's not like wrong, but it's also not descriptive at all of what you're doing. But yeah, so those were the two that I didn't play. I played everything else in the list to some degree. So I guess we'll just go in order since they're here and there's Castlevania music playing. So first on the list here is Circle of the Moon. I had also played this one before. I played it like a year or so ago. And so my initial experience with it when I was, in my own personal spreadsheet, I have it as a 3. It's not bad, you know, it's a Castlevania game. It's fun to explore the castle and fight the bosses and all that stuff, but like, your character is very slow. It's a very sort of plodding game. It's super grindy. I think the card concept is cool, but like the card, so you have like 2 rows of cards and you can pick 1 card from each row, and then that's what gives you like your upgrades. You don't like find weapons like you do in some later Castlevania or stuff. Like all of your upgrades are really just from the cards. And I think it's an interesting system, but the card drop rates are so low. It's like single-digit %, and off of like very specific monsters. So like if you don't have a guide, you're just like stumbling around looking for what to do. So like I completely sympathize with everybody who I watched struggle through this on a blind playthrough. But when I played through it this time, I used a glitch in the speedrun from the using the cards. So they call it the DSS glitch, which always makes me think of Department of Social Services, but that's just the name of the like card system. It's like dual something setup, I don't know. But basically the way that the cards work is you pick 2 cards and then you unpause, you press L, and Nathan does this little like power up animation, and then when that animation ends, you get the ability. But if you pick 2 cards and do that power up animation and then pause, it's not like frame specific, just like at any point during his little animation, you just pause and select 2 other cards, whether you have them or not. The game says, well, you have these cards selected, you don't have them, but you're doing the animation, so I guess you have the power up, here you go. And so you have access to like any of the abilities from the very beginning of the game. Yeah, rares were like 1.1%. Yeah, absolutely. It's just brutal. So playing through it like that with access to everything was just like so much better. It wasn't flawless. So the way it's sort of like quote unquote balanced is the later game cards, their abilities cost way more MP. And if you used an ability where like it costs more MP than you have, normally your MP regenerates slowly over time, but like you underflow it and get like a negative value, and it just like stops refilling until you get to a save room. So you have to be careful about that, first of all. And then second of all, like the other part of grinding for cards is that it makes you grind for levels as well. And so like each boss is like a huge jump up in difficulty. And if you're under leveled going into some of those later bosses, it's a problem. And by having all of the abilities at the very beginning of the game, I was like super under leveled. Dracula was killing me in like 3 hits. That is not an easy fight. But the summons are very good. It gives you access to like, there's a speed boost card set up that like alleviates the concerns of Nathan being super slow. There's like a better heal. I think everybody found the slow heal, where you like stand still and it ticks you up for like 4 HP at a time or something like that. There is like a summon heal that's way better and like heals half of your HP or something like that. But again, it's not something you would normally have access to until like the very end of the game. So initially when I played it, I would have it here, but for this playthrough, I had a way better time. It took about 3 hours getting through the entire castle. Again, you know, I was familiar with the map at this point, but it felt really good to like, for a game that had given me a lot of trouble the first time through, to come back to it and then sort of give it the business in return was pretty cool. Next is Crazy Taxi. So this was, I had sort of like Mega Man, Dexterity, and Crazy Taxi left at the end, and Rocket Knight, but I was pretty convinced I was going to play Rocket Knight, not knowing how hard it was actually going to be. But we'll get to that later. So I wanted to get like one of these three, and I really didn't think I was going to get through Crazy Taxi. I started out playing it and was just like not even getting to half of the goal score requirement. And it was it was fun. I enjoyed playing it, so I was like, you know, I'll just keep playing it for an hour or so and kind of see where I get. I think I told Rio at one point this felt there were no pinball games in the list this year, but this felt spiritually the most like a pinball game, and that it was fun to play. I enjoyed playing it, but like I didn't think I was going to enjoy the grind to like get to a specific point. And that's kind of true, but I really did feel like I was slowly getting better over time. I think it took a long time to kind of get over that hump, but once I did, I was making pretty constant progress. I think at one point I got very, very close. I was like a couple $100 away and like didn't get it. And so at that point, it was like cool that I was close, but also like I couldn't give up at that point. I had proved the concept that it was possible, so I had to like actually do it. And it took like another hour or something. I think this was like around 3 hours or something like that. So really not like that long in the grand scheme of things, but it was a good time. I had a really good time playing it. Like when I was doing not well and when I was doing well. I think I had a little bit of issues. I think some of the tech in the game, like the boost and stuff, is weird. I never really got consistent with it. I got more consistent, but not like, I still missed it a lot, and just having to like navigate around that was tricky, but overall it was fun. I would also put this in an A. I had a really good time with it. Let's play something different, since we just heard a different version of that. Okay, next on the list is Gizmos and Gadgets. Good old edutainment, right? Oh yeah, no, good point on this, Vandal. So like, I do think I said this like instantly after finishing, right? Shoehorse was initially planning to make this $10,000 and not $5,000. There was zero chance anyone was like this. Crazy Taxi was like, there wasn't like a deluxe goal. There was just like 2 standard goals that you could do. But like that was the more deluxe. It was the second presented goal, right? And like 10,000 makes more sense if you're looking at it like a deluxe thing. But like, no, there's no way in hell, man. Absolutely not. Okay, but Gizmos and Gadgets. So my enduring thought about Gizmos and Gadgets is they took Mario is Missing, right? We played it for 30 for 30 last year, I think, maybe 2 years ago. He said, what if we made it even longer, right? It was like another like hour and a half longer than Mario is Missing, and Mario is Missing felt like an eternity. I don't like, the complicated puzzles in this are bad. Like magnets is the one that I really, really hated, because you just had to like, when you do a small magnet puzzle, you've proven that you understand the concept of magnets. When you do like a 50-piece magnet puzzle, you're not like, I'm not learning anything else, right? Like I'm doing the same thing but longer. When you ask me more complicated questions about like heat energy or even the gear stuff, like the more complicated gear stuff is like, or the circuits, you're sort of building on that knowledge. But like the whir noises, we didn't need them. We didn't need it for 6.5 hours, man. Like the base game itself is fun. I liked putting the different cars together, and I liked, you know, that there are different levels of the parts. And you didn't necessarily need the very best part in each category, you know. So there was a little bit of like a, do we think this is good enough? I went out and I found one more upgrade. Let's go back and test it. Like that part is neat, but like there's just a point where edutainment stops being like, it's good for what it is, right? Because you don't want a kid to be playing this and just get done with it in an hour and say, okay, I'm done learning, right? That's not the point. But for our purposes, it's just too long. For me, Gizmos and Gadgets is a C. I can't put it lower because like the game itself is fine. It's just too long. It's just too long. All right. Next is Link to the Past. So A Link to the Past is kind of a game that I feel bad about not liking more than I do. I don't love it, which feels weird because I really like Zelda games and I love Super Nintendo games. And I even had this as a kid. I didn't have it on Super Nintendo. I had the GBA port and beat it as a kid. So like, maybe not in my most formative years, but like I have a connection with it. But like, this game just bounces off of me. I understand that it's a good game. I know people love it for good reason. And I don't like hate it or anything. But like, I'm never excited about playing it. I think I did do 100%. I don't know if I've done this game 100% before, but I followed a guide for it just to knock out a deluxe goal. And I think it's, you know, I wouldn't have gotten 100% if I didn't have to, but I would have gotten most of the stuff just because like some of the later dungeons and bosses they're genuinely tough. The Ice Palace sucks. If you could let me play that game without playing the Ice Palace, I might score it one higher. But I don't know. I think for me it's a B. It's middle of the road. I'm not like dreading it when I see it come up on a list like this. I'm not like, oh my god, what can I do to skip this game the way that I was with Mega Man 7? But you know, that's just the way it is, I guess. Yeah. Alright, next is Rocket Knight. So this was the one that I had planned to finish at the end of the month. Although now that I know how hard it was, that might not have even happened. But life got in the way. We ended up playing it last week, or earlier this week, with Rio and Shoehorse. And we all super underestimated how hard it would be and how long it would take. It was very funny. I think all of us... I guess I just didn't watch you play it at all, Vandal. I knew you had played it, and I knew that you had liked it, right? I remember seeing you put it highly in your tier list, so I think I just put those two things together and was like, well, yeah, I mean, it can't be that bad, right? And man, this game was tough. So it also, like Dexterity, it has hard game overs, and I have to hold that against it. I do. But like the game itself is fun. I think the visuals are very good. The music is great. Playing as Rocket is good. He's got like a charged up boost that you can like boost in any direction, and he's like sort of invincible while he's boosting. So especially in the boss fights, that lets you do some kind of crazy things, which is good because the boss fights are demented. Konami was on something when they were making some of those boss fights. The level 3 one, where it's the giant fish who like sucks in platforms super fast and you're over lava and you've got to like jump from platform to platform as they're changing speeds. It's nuts. And then the fish doesn't even take damage. There's a guy inside of the fish that he like spits up in the air and you've got to like jump up and slash him. It's it's wild. But they were all super cool, right? The Rock'em Sock'em Robot boss was pretty neat, although he just had longer range than me, it felt like. Like, if you didn't cheese him to walk into you, I don't know how you beat him. But it was a cool variety, right? There was like some auto scrollers. There was you were like going underwater. There were like swimming sections. All the levels were cool. There was a shmup level. The shmup level was super fun. And then the last level was just a boss rush of like, I swear there's like 5 different bosses with like 8 different forms or something like that. I kept thinking, surely this is the last one. And there were like 4 more bosses to go. So it was cool. It was cool. Also, shoutouts to game overing roughly like 8 seconds before the end of the game and having to start over and spend like another hour on it. That was cool. I don't think I can rank it super high because like I hear what Vandal has said. That like I also felt like I was just getting better at the game over time, and that felt good, right? Like the last run through, I mean, the last run through had a couple of issues because I was just tired, but like by and large I was cruising through most of it until the end. And so like that feels good, but like you shouldn't make me do that again after I've already sort of demonstrated mastery, I feel. But I can't rank it super low either because I think it's fun. Like I don't. A lot of times when I put games in like the middle of the road here, it's because they're like kind of forgettable. This is certainly not forgettable. I mean, this isn't either, to be fair. But like, I think there's too many good things about it to score it bad, and there's too many bad things about it to score it good. Yeah, if I had a slot right here, maybe it goes right here. I did play Dexterity, Yemo. I even played it more than I played it on stream, but I didn't finish it for the goal, so it sits down here. I had to at least participate and see what, you know, we were all memeing on Dexterity from the millisecond it was revealed, right? So I had to experience it for myself. Also, shoutouts to this is a song from Curse Crackers, which is coming up next. Okay, next we have Tony Hawk. I did not play the Dreamcast version. Sorry, Shoehorse. I still have this cartridge. It's yellow for some reason. I love Tony 2. I've played it a ton. Dexterity did absolutely meme us. No doubt about it. Except Vandal took it by the scruff of its neck and finished it. So props to Vandal for that. I played a ton of Tony 2. I love it. I never owned Tony 1. I like rented it as a kid and then like liked it so much I got the sequel when it came out. I think as a kid, like I probably beat it with every character. It's just really fun. As evidenced by the fact I've already played it again for 30 for 30. But I will say I didn't pick it specifically because I was like, this is one of my favorite games ever. I want to put it in the list. It was that I had just played it and remembered that it had a leaderboard. I'm like, I don't think that it's perfect. I think there's some levels that are not great. Like Venice Beach is one of my least favorite levels in any Tony game, probably. And then like New York has that back section that's like super dark and you have to do some like sick jumps to get the tape and some of the cash icons and that kind of thing. But it's just good. It's just good. I had a really good time trying to go up the building in Philadelphia the wrong way to get that one cash icon. How long did it take me? I finished Tony 2 with the deluxe goal, right, which was 100%, in 2.5 hours. And I think like an hour of it was just trying to get that one cash icon. And then I got it, and then Vandal was like, yeah, you could just go up the building the other way, and it's super free. But we made it there, you know? So for me personally, Tony 2 is an S. This is probably my favorite Tony game, and I love the series. It's always just good to go back to. You know, you're missing some of the improvements from the later games, like reverts, so like it's much more about flatland tricks and grinds and that kind of stuff to keep your combos going, but you can still rack up some huge points. And then last but not least, we have Uniracers. So if we go back in time, about a year ago, I was doing one of these. I don't remember if it was for usebs or 30 for 30. But I was complaining about a racing game, like I often do here on this channel. And Shoehorse said something in chat to the effect of, listen, I'm gonna work at this, and one day I'm gonna find a racing game that you enjoy. And we had a good laugh about it, because, you know, obviously no way that's ever happening. But like, I'll be damned if he didn't do it. Uniracers was absolutely sick. I had a really good time with it. So you can do like the base of it. You're on a unicycle and you're running through the track, but you can do tricks at any point. Like if you go off a big jump, or you can just jump in place and do like a little spin or something like that. So it's like, it's very much not a hold A racing game like most racing games are. But then also, for every trick that you do, you get a speed boost. So you're benefiting yourself from constantly just doing tricks and getting boosts and going faster. And like, the computer does that sometimes, but they don't super exploit it. It's like, if you get on a straightaway and you really can like chain together tricks, like I always felt like I could catch up to the computer super well. You never see the track, but you don't like need to. So I was gonna bring that up too. Like the track layouts are kind of crazy, right? It's a lot more vertical than most racing games, and so there's no mini map or anything. But like, you don't need one, because they made the super smart decision to paint the track in like whatever color coordinates with whatever you need to be doing. So like, if it's green, you're good to just do tricks and boost and go straight ahead. If it's red, there's like a jump coming up that you need to slow down for or something, or like a drop. Shortcuts are marked in yellow. There's like goop sections that slow you down, and there's like warning markers before there that let you know to jump. Like, it's, when you jump into a racing game like this blindly, this happens a lot during N64 Mania racing games too. Like, a lot of racing games is learning the tracks, right? So like, when you come into it completely blind, it's super difficult until you sort of blindly poke around and get a feel for like, here's where I need to brake, here's where I can like let on the gas or whatever. But like, I always felt like these were much easier to sight read, because I didn't need to know, like, I didn't need to see what was coming next, because the track was telling me what was coming next. That's fair. That's fair that you probably couldn't see it as a viewer. I think if I hadn't read the manual, I probably wouldn't know that either. But like, look, as someone who really doesn't like racing games a lot of the time, like I vibed with this one a lot. Now I will say a big part of that probably is that we played silver. That was the deluxe goal, was the bronze medals and then the silver medals. There's another difficulty level beyond that, and if we had to play that, I didn't try gold ever, but like, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. But for what we did, for the goal that we had to do, I had a really good time with it. Also, speaking of the manual, right, that's what I have here on the left. They went absolutely nuts with the lore in the manual for no reason whatsoever. And that was a really entertaining read. It's the same devs, I think, who went on to make Space Station Silicon Valley for the N64, which was another, like, trying to intentionally be funny. And pulled it off. So it's always fun to see people having a good time when they're putting together, like, does your unicycle racing game need like quantum physics lore? No, of course not, but if you want to write it, why not? So for me, Uniracers is an S. I really, really liked it. I was like super apprehensive going into it because I've just been burned by so many SNES racing games that are awful. But man, that was a good time. That was a really, really good time. I did know, like, I'd never played it before. I'd heard of it before. I knew that people liked it. But people like all kinds of bad games, you know? But it turned out. It turned out. How come I took long? Well, listen. Sometimes you just have to let them breathe, you know, really savor them. We had to mentally prep for Rocket Knight for like a month and a half. And we still made it. We still made it. Maybe it wasn't on time, but we finished. So that's it. 7 games, 3 deluxe. It was Tony and Uniracers and Zelda for my 10 games. And honestly, I had a good, like, nothing that I played was bad. Even Gizmos and Gadgets, like I said, like, I had a fine time with it. It was just too much of it. You know, Mega Man 7 and Dexterity, if I had played them, I would have scored them probably lower, but, you know, I didn't. So, yeah, I guess that's it, huh? It's true. So I wanted to make sure to do the tier list. I didn't do the tier list right after we finished Rocket Knight because honestly, I had to come back and remember what we played and what I thought about it. But I did, and we ended up in good spots. So shout outs to Shoehorse for putting this together. As always, it's a very good time. I think it's kind of neat that a lot of these sort of coalesced into this period of the year, so it's like something to look forward to as the year draws to a close. It's just a good time. Playing games is fun, and having a sort of directed list like this is cool. So I'm always appreciative of people who put them together, and will do my best to do them. And with that, I think we're probably good on this. We'll get Curse Crackers booted up and get back to the actually ongoing event of 30 for 30. January when? Well, see, here's the thing, Yimo. January is actually happening right now because I'm getting to pick the games that I want to play for 30 for 30. So these are just the games that would be in it, you know? If you want to join me and play the excellent list of games that I've curated, by all means, feel free. My event is missing pinball, and that is not an accident. If I ever do put a list together, my solemn promise to you is it will never have pinball and it will never have golf. I can't promise no other sports trash, but pinball and golf, we've had our fill. No, what's up, Tiger? Thanks for the raid. Hope you're doing well. We're just finishing up a tier list here of usebs, the last event that we did. And then we're going to hop back into Curse Crackers for 30 for 30. Which actually, probably just boot up and get going here right about now.